Hey everyone, welcome to the English Podcast. I'm Sarah, and today we have a really interesting episode that will make you think about your next trip. We're asking a simple but important question: why should we travel? And with me, as always, is my friend David. How are you doing today, David?
I'm doing great, Sarah. This topic is one of my favorites because it touches on so many aspects of what makes life rich and meaningful. It's funny, whenever I talk to people about travel, I often get two kinds of reactions. Some are filled with curiosity and excitement, while others are a bit hesitant, maybe even skeptical. There's always that looming question: why should I travel? And I think by the end of today's episode, we'll have a pretty convincing answer.
Oh, absolutely. I think travel is one of those things that, once you've experienced it, you get hooked. But for people who haven't taken the plunge yet, there can be a lot of uncertainty. Is it worth the money? The time? The hassle? And for those who travel, it's always deeper than just ticking destinations off a list or posting about it on social media. It's transformative. So, let's break it down. Why should we travel? Let's start with a reason that I think is universal. Travel expands our horizons. This phrase might sound cliché, but there's a lot of truth to it. When you leave your comfort zone and explore a new country or culture, you're opening yourself up to perspectives and experiences you would never have encountered otherwise.
Exactly. It's about exposing yourself to the unknown. When you stay in the same environment, it's easy to fall into a routine. You start to believe that your way of thinking, your customs, and your daily habits are the right or only way. But the moment you step off a plane in a completely different country, everything changes. What was once familiar becomes foreign, and that's when you start learning.
Right. You learn that the way you view the world isn't the only way, and more importantly, it doesn't have to be. When I visited South Korea, for example, I was struck by how different the work culture was from back home. The dedication and long hours people put in were eye-opening. But then, there's also a deep respect for elders and a collective mindset that's not as prevalent where I'm from. It was fascinating, and it really made me think about my own values in a different light.
Yeah, and I had a similar experience when I went to Morocco. I was used to a certain pace of life, but there, I was forced to slow down. The culture was more relaxed and community-focused. People took time for long meals and real conversations. That was a revelation for me. It made me reflect on how rushed and transactional my life back home could be.
I love that. It's those moments of reflection that make travel so valuable. And what's amazing is that it's not just about learning what's different about other cultures, you also start to see commonalities. No matter where you go, you see people striving for similar things: happiness, connection, safety, and love. It's comforting in a way, realizing that we're all in this together, despite our differences.
And speaking of learning, let's dive into personal growth. If you ask me, travel is one of the best ways to grow as a person. Every trip, every destination, throws challenges at you, some that you can anticipate and others that come out of nowhere. You're constantly adapting, problem solving, and discovering new sides of yourself.
Absolutely. Travel forces you to think on your feet. It's not always glamorous. There are language barriers, unfamiliar foods, and sometimes even cultural misunderstandings. But in those moments, you learn more about yourself than you ever could in the comfort of your own home. I remember my first solo trip to Italy. I had planned everything meticulously, but things didn't go as expected. My train got delayed, and I didn't know the language well enough to communicate with the station attendants. It was frustrating at first, but I eventually figured it out. By the end of that trip, I was so much more confident and self-assured.
Yes. You're forced to grow. There's a saying that goes something like, "A smooth sea never made a skilled sailor," and that's exactly what travel does. It puts you in situations where you have to figure things out. That kind of real-world problem-solving builds resilience. And you know what else? It teaches you patience. Because let's be honest, things don't always go as planned when you're traveling.
Oh, that's for sure. I've learned that the unexpected detours often turn out to be the best parts of the trip. I once ended up in a small town in Portugal by mistake and had one of the most memorable nights of my life. The local community welcomed me with open arms, and we shared food, music, and stories. That experience taught me to embrace the unknown, and ever since, I've tried to let go of the need for everything to be perfectly planned.
Exactly. Travel teaches you flexibility, and the ability to roll with the punches is something you carry with you long after the trip is over. And when you look back, it's those moments of overcoming obstacles that give you the greatest sense of accomplishment.
Now, let's talk about something incredibly important, especially in today's world: cultural understanding. We're living in a time where there's a lot of division and misunderstanding between cultures. Travel has this unique way of breaking down those barriers and allowing us to see people as individuals, not just representatives of a culture we don't know.
That's a great point. When you travel, you're stepping into someone else's world. You're no longer just reading about a culture in a book or watching it on a screen. You're living it, even if just for a short while. You get to experience their way of life, their values, and traditions. And that's powerful. It changes you. Suddenly, those differences don't seem so vast anymore.
Exactly. And what's beautiful is that it goes both ways. When you travel, you're not just learning about other cultures, you're also sharing your own. I've had so many wonderful conversations with people I've met abroad who were curious about my life back home. Those exchanges are so meaningful because they build bridges of understanding and respect. They're the antidote to stereotypes and prejudice.
That's it. Travel fosters empathy. When you meet someone, share a meal, and listen to their stories, it's hard not to feel a connection. You realize that beneath the surface, we all have similar hopes, dreams, and challenges. And that, I think, is one of the greatest gifts of travel. It brings us closer as a global community.
Another reason I think people should travel, especially in today's hyper-connected world, is that it allows you to disconnect. We're all so plugged in, constantly on our phones, answering emails, checking social media, that we forget what it's like to just be. Travel can be that perfect opportunity to hit the reset button.
Oh, absolutely. I think we often underestimate how much we need that break. When you're traveling, especially in places that are off the beaten path, you're forced to slow down. You're more present because you're not bombarded with notifications. Instead, you're focused on the world around you, the landscapes, the people, the sounds, and even the smells. It's a kind of mindfulness that we rarely practice in our everyday lives.
Yes. It's so refreshing. I remember being in the Swiss Alps, hiking in the middle of nowhere, and feeling completely free. No Wi-Fi, no emails, just me, the mountains, and my thoughts. It was incredibly therapeutic. You get to reconnect with yourself, your thoughts, and the beauty of the world.
And when you come back home, you feel rejuvenated. You've had the chance to clear your mind, and you're often more creative and more energized. It's like you've recalibrated your entire mindset. Oh, all the time. There's something about experiencing new places that gets the creative juices flowing. It's like your brain is being fed all this fresh, novel input: the sights, the architecture, the colors, the languages. It stimulates your imagination in ways you don't expect.
Exactly. I've come back from trips with so many new ideas, whether it's for my blog or just life in general. The inspiration I get from seeing new art, fashion, food, it's endless. And it's not just visual inspiration, either. It's the stories you hear, the people you meet, the conversations you have.
Yeah, I think that's why so many artists, writers, and creators travel. It's not just about relaxation. It's about seeking out those sparks of inspiration you can't find when you're stuck in your usual routine.
And finally, let's talk about one of the most beautiful aspects of travel, creating lasting memories. Travel gives us stories that we carry with us for a lifetime.
That's so true. When I look back on my travels, it's not just the places I remember, but the experiences, the sunsets I've seen, the meals I've shared, the people I've met. These are memories that stay with you forever. They're a part of who you are.
Yeah, and it's not just the big moments, either. Sometimes it's the small, unexpected ones, the quiet afternoon in a cafe in Paris, the spontaneous street festival in Brazil, or the conversation you had with a local in Thailand. Those little moments often end up being the most cherished.
Exactly. And the best part? Those memories don't fade. Even years later, they bring a smile to your face. Travel memories are like treasures you keep forever.
So, whether it's expanding your horizons, fostering personal growth, or creating lasting memories, travel is more than just a getaway, it's a life-changing experience.
Couldn't agree more, Sarah. For anyone listening who's on the fence about taking that trip, we hope this episode has given you the push you need to make it happen.
Remember, wherever your next journey takes you, it's about more than just the destination. It's about the experiences, the growth, and the connections you make along the way. Until next time, keep wandering. Safe travels, everyone.